Welcome to First Responder Financial Freedom Podcast. We talk to first responders all over the nation who are investing and working on businesses outside of their first responder jobs. Our goal is to motivate and educate each other and help provide a better financial understanding for a better future. Now here are your hosts, Mike Webb, Tyler Thrush, and Aaron Foster.
Hot damn, this is episode 10. We've hit double digits. We are with Brandon Glenn of SA First. So Brandon is a retired firefighter from the city of Phoenix, and now he does risk management consultations. He's been in business for, I guess, 9 years now, since 2013, if I remember correctly. Yeah. You got 3 people who work for you, right?
Yep.
And you're expanding.
Trying my best.
You're going to make more than all 3 of us combined in the next year, it sounds like.
I don't know. You guys are a deal, so we'll see.
All right, so Brandon, walk me through this, man. So, beginning, middle, end. So, like, you grew up in Phoenix, which is where you're at now. This is where your business is. This is where you were a firefighter at before. So,
yeah.
how did you get into the fire department, and what was the hinge point for you to switch out of the fire department?
So, man, when I was a little kid, the fire department came. My back fence caught on fire, Station 33 in the city of Phoenix, and I saw these guys in the middle of the night. They were all just like all of us are now, bigger than life, and they put the little shed and fence fire out, and I was like, dude, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a fireman. And besides trying to be a pro basketball player, which obviously I'm not that athletic to do anything like that, that was all I wanted to do. So in high school, I went to Moon Valley High School, 2004, I'm a Rocket. The Phoenix Fire Department had a class there. It was a fire science class. So I got to meet a bunch of great dudes, and they basically took me under their wing. Got into a lot of trouble in high school. And instead of them dealing with my mom, she was always out working. I was raised by a single mom. They kind of got with a guy named Daryl Wiseman, and he would kind of mentor me and take care of all the issues that I had in school to try to help me be successful off the bat instead of going down a different rabbit hole.
That sounds cool. It sounds like you'll fit right in with us on Knuckleheads.
Totally.
So when did you get hired by the fire department? What year was that?
So I got hired in 2009 by the fire district of Sun City West. So when I got my EMT and I got my paramedic, I was working out in Wickenburg, Arizona on a private ambulance company. Absolutely crazy out there. The craziest call still of my entire career, working in the city of Phoenix, Big Red, all that stuff. And I just was testing everywhere. So Sun City West gave me the opportunity. So I worked there for a little bit. And I call it the walls. It was all geriatric calls, all fall injuries, all old people. And I'm like, dude, I need to do something more exciting. So I started testing everywhere else. Like a few months later, when I decided to start testing, I got hired by the town of Queen Creek Fire Department in 2011. And then from there, 2012, so I was there for a short time. I got hired by the city of Phoenix, and I jumped in their fire academy.
I love Phoenix, dude. So Phoenix has Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, that entire area had a massive growth over the last 10 years. It seems like the mecca for Californians to come and try to change your demographic.
Good or bad, it is happening. It's crazy.
So we'll start this off on a funny note, making fun of Aaron Foster. So my cousin lives out in Mesa, Arizona. He was a nationally ranked runner, right, for colleges. So he was like, hey, man, let's go run up Camelback Mountain. I was like, all right, cool. So I was like, I'm in good shape. I'll run up there. Dude, the air is so dry and so thin in that freaking desert. I got like a quarter mile in, and I'm like, oh, this is a great view. Let me take a picture. It was fucking terrible. Like, it's one of my favorite places to visit while I'm out there. But it's definitely a cool location. Did you ever invest in that area?
No. So as far as no investing. As far as working, I work downtown quite a bit. That's where I spent the majority of my time. And I hiked Camelback numerous times in one day on one shift to get people down in the middle of the summer, and it is fucking horrible.
What he means is people like me who are out of shape. That's what he's indicating, guys, if you're listening to this.
So here's what happens. These guys are going to like the Biltmore Hotel or these nice places downtown, and they're from out of town, and they're like, hey, we want to go on a nice hike. And the people in Arizona just think, oh, go hike Camelback, no big deal. And these people go, they have one bottle of water, they think it's going to last. and then they just get stuck and they just tap out, give up, and then they call us to go and get them, man. It's crazy.
Multiple times a day. So you guys must have been in really good shape.
We have this similar thing. They come up to Sugarloaf from DC and think they're going to be all REI adventurous and shit. Next thing you know, not quite the flat streets of Northwest, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
Brandon, what kind of, so you're working for the city of Phoenix, and then, what kind of sparked that entrepreneurial, I guess, thirst, or maybe you already had it, but I think you're one of our first guests that is not like heavily into real estate. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I listened to a lot of your guys' episodes. It sounds like I'm like the only person or one of the only few that's not doing anything in the real estate deal. But I got the opportunity to kind of test the waters. Why I didn't have a lot of risk, because I had a full-time job. So it wasn't a big deal to go all in on something if I had a backup plan. And that's what the fire department was. But I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. When I was a little kid, in order for me to afford to buy my Jordans for basketball, I ran a little landscape route. I had my lawnmower, my weed eater, and I'd go and I'd do my block and I'd get paid money. And I'd put the money under the carpet until I had enough money to go pick up some shoes. So, that started at 4th, 5th grade. I was doing that to try to earn my keep and try to get some shoes that I wanted. So it's always been there. From then, landscape routes, and that's kind of like a typical deal that firemen do.
Landscaping and power washing, man. Those are the two every firefighter takes over.
Or trash removal now. You know what I
mean?
Yeah.
At least you ride the tailboard of a trash truck. You can't ride the tailboard of a fire truck anymore.
No, you cannot, unfortunately enough.
So that kind of leads into like your risk management and safety consulting. So that's what you do now. So how did you transition from firefighter into risk management and safety consulting?
So 2013, man, I was playing in a men's league. I was playing hoop, and I tore my ACL. I tore my knee up. So I was off the truck for 7 months. I was always working overtime all the time, because you know how it is on the fire department. I got kids, I got a wife, trying to make ends meet. So I was always picking up extra shifts. Well, that ended, you know what I mean? So it went from always having overtime to I'm like, I need to figure out how to make some more money. I was driving up north to go fishing with a buddy. He works at Daisy Mountain Fire, and his dad is a pretty big shot in the construction industry in Arizona. And he's like, hey, dude, we need somebody to go walk around these jobs and do safety inspections. You interested in doing it? And I was like, sure, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll like go online and figure it out and see how it goes. So I was doing it, and I was making good money. I was making like $2,000 extra a month doing it. And I was like, dude, this is great. I'm going to do this forever. And then I could just work my normal shifts and not have to pick up overtime anymore. And I didn't know shit. I didn't know what I was doing at all. And I ended up getting fired from doing it. And I was working at Station 9 in the city of Phoenix on 3rd Street in Indian School. And we were all about to go to training. So all the bay doors open up, ladder, battalion, engine, rescue. And I'm fucking walking, and I'm giving my iPad and everything back because I'm getting fired from doing it at that time, So I'll always remember that portion. I was like, dude, I kind of fucked that up. So
it's a learning experience. It's an obstacle.
It was for sure a learning experience, because looking back, I'm working for them again, and everything is better than ever. So it gave me another opportunity.
All right. So walk me through this. Explain to me what you do. It's like risk management, safety consulting, what builders risk, and a couple other things.
Yep. So typically I work for general contractors that build apartments. And as you know, California people are moving over here. So we can't build fast enough to manage that influx of population growth in the city of Phoenix or Maricopa County. So what these smaller size general contractors do is that they provide third-party consultation services. So I implement their risk management program, implement their daily safety program. I write safety programs for them. And my team goes out to the jobs on a weekly basis, and they do site inspections. We provide detailed reports. We give them recommendations, and then we do any training or meetings or stand downs or anything like that. So we're basically a cheaper avenue than hiring a full-time risk manager to perform those services. And they're getting better, if not, equal services than having a full-time guy.
So when we do not cost segregation, feasibility studies when we do build outs, right? A feasibility study is a third party company that's not paired with the builder or the investors. It's a complete separate entity that somebody hires out, and they do an itemized cost analysis of each list item to do a build out, right? So basically, you're doing the same thing as a liability and safety consultation.
Correct. Yeah. So I work for general contractors that have in-house risk managers, and they hire my firm as a consultation to make sure that their systems and processes are in place and they're being as effective and, trying to drive that culture within their organization. And that's common. They do it. I mean, I have probably 10 clients that have their own in-house safety people that I work for as well.
So how did you go from, I'm guessing you were what, point guard, forward? What was your thing?
I was a shooting guard. I'm about 6'1".
Okay. So shooting guard to like safety consulting, like how did you pick this little niche of safety consulting from being a shooting guard?
Man. Yeah. So I just saw an opportunity, man, and I tried to take full advantage of it. The city of Phoenix offers tuition reimbursement. So I basically was taking time off, or I was doing AWRs. I was doing shift trades to go to school. And then I'd go back to the fire station that night and finish out my shift. And they paid for me to get the education that I needed. And then the number one thing that I did was just build relationships with people in the construction industry, for now them giving me the opportunity to be able to work for them.
So you're in the South, primarily in the Southwest, right? Like the Arizona, Cali, Texas.
Correct.
LA, no, Nevada,
Texas. But you know what? We're expanding, like you said. I'm trying to grow as much as possible. We just picked up clients from Minnesota, from the East Coast that are going to be coming out to Arizona to do some building. So any opportunity that I can get, if I think that culture is a match with what my core values are, that's what my team's going to do.
So let me ask you a question in terms of scaling your business. So say you're in the Southwest, in the Cali, Texas, Arizona area, and now you got to go to Minnesota. Are you going to fly, or are they going to fly your team out there and then push you up? And how do you manage that?
So I'm not going. These general contractors that we're working for from out of town, they're coming to Arizona to plant some seeds and to build some apartments or commercial properties in Arizona.
Okay. All right. So the schooling, what kind of schooling did you have to get an associate's degree in this? Is it a accreditation?
Schooling was super simple, man. It was just a lot of classes that you had to take on top of each other. I have no degree in anything. I didn't go to college. I went to paramedic school at Paradise Valley Community College, sprinkled across a little bit of like general studies with that. And that kind of gave me the opportunity to be able to take these classes. So ASU offers, some OSHA satellite classes. So I took them there. And then once I got all that stuff going, I started taking my insurance, risk insurance specialist certifications, my construction health and safety technician certifications. And I just kept on trying to build a resume and try to expand that knowledge base. But most importantly, it was just time in the field, building relationships with the task level guys, trying to understand their sequences, what challenges they have, and really try to build a good relationships with those guys so we can actually effectively and positively impact that culture and make things better for people.
That's something that almost every podcast I've done, whether it be this one or other podcasts I've been on, the put the pin in the thing. It's relationships and networking. Like you have to have relationships and networking if you want to expand any type of business, will it be real estate investing or learning new avenues to make money or any kind of business possible. How do you have like CRMs? Like how do you keep track of these people? Is you have a list of people in your mind? Do you have an Excel spreadsheet? Like, do you just know everybody? Like, how do you have these people like kind of spread out? How do you keep track of them?
So, actually at the end of last year was the very first time where I started picking and choosing the people that my team was going to work for, which was nice because in the beginning, you're just like trying to hustle and scrape and you're willing to do anything for the lowest dollar. And, when I left the fire department, I was done doing that. I was going to go all in and I was going to try to make sure that my team was taken care of financially. So they weren't always trying to hustle, having to do 10 inspections a day, spreading themselves thin. So from that standpoint, what I did was I made a Dream 25 list, and that list described the 25 people whether I wanted to just have a relationship with them or mentorship with them, or if I actually wanted to work for their company.
So,
and I wrote that out. I did that is that these jobs are always. Go ahead.
So I don't know if I'm at the beach right now, so I don't know if it's my mic or not. I keep going in and out. So when you built the systems, then you built the relationships, and now you're going out and expanding. Like, how are you going out and finding these jobs in Minnesota or the East Coast? Or are they coming to find you? Is it just because you built a name for yourself?
Yep. So I'm trying to build that reputation for my company that we're doing things the right way, the ethical way, and we're trying to take care of everybody involved, and we're trying to provide the best services. So word of mouth is the best business in the construction industry. A lot of these old timers, man, they're not hopping on LinkedIn, they're not hopping on Facebook and trying to see what's going on. It's more that relationship that they have with other people, and they're saying, hey, who are you using? And then they'll give you a call, you sit down and you see if it's a good fit.
And I like what he just mentioned too. I mean, I know Andy has his power list, right? Top 5 things that you want to do every day. And I think, what did you call it? The Dream 25? Is that what you said?
25 list. Yeah. So I learned that from a guy named Ryan Stuman. He's the founder of Apex. It's another mastermind. And, it works. You have to have a list down of clients you want to work for, or you guys are in the RE space. You guys have to kind of write down what your goals and ambitions are and rank them from the highest to the lowest.
And that's huge, because any business, no matter what, you can get so distracted with 800 things you want to do and all these things. But if you write it down and are intentionally looking at it, like, here's the top 25, I'm going to go after this. It's no accident that I'm sure out of that Dream 25, how many of those people have you connected with or received mentorship from?
Yeah. So I didn't have a Dream 25 until I left the fire department, but I had one general contracting client that I wanted to work for, and they had in-house. There was other people getting the opportunity, and they're the largest multifamily developer in the Valley. And November of this year, or November of 2021, I got the opportunity to sit in front of their officers, and, they hired me and my team to provide services for them. And it was a blessing how it worked out. It was crazy, but that thought never left my mind. Like, this is who I want to work for. And I always was working towards getting the opportunity to work for this general contractor. So it was a huge win. It's a lot of challenges, man. I didn't realize the amount of challenges it would be working for them, but well worth it. And my guys are learning on a daily basis. But again, that Dream 25, they were number one, wrote it down. And obviously, like you said, it's no coincidence that it happened.
So Brandon, how do you get paid for this? Like, I understand that you're the third party safety consulting firm basically for these smaller contractors, but is it a portion of the contract? Is it a portion, like, how do you, obviously share what you're comfortable with, but like, how do you sit there and say, like, hey, it's this much money to provide this service? I would imagine if it's a 400 unit apartment building versus a 4-unit apartment building, it's going to be drastically different. So how does that work?
So in the beginning, obviously, just like everybody else, man, I undervalued myself, and I was giving things away for pennies. And I'm like, dude, this is a 25-acre project, man. Like, we're spending hours there, and I'm like barely paying my guys. And I was like, dude, I got to come up with a different system. So basically, when I'm giving proposals out, I ask a few specific questions for that project. Building size, building number. I try to go online. I'm part of a database where I can see some site renderings. I can see how big the lot is, and we make a determination from there. But then it also depends on the frequency of inspections that my team's going to perform, and also the amount of scope of the services that we're going to provide. So I don't call it this, but in theory, what I'm doing is I have like a silver, gold, and platinum package. Platinum being the whole thing. This is what you're going to get, and it's all in one. But then there's some smaller ones, like you said, they might be 70-unit deals. And these guys are trying to prepare themselves for growth, and they're going to start going into those 200, 300, 400-unit complexes. So they're trying to implement these systems. Well, I'm going to cut them a break for 2 reasons. I'm trying to give them the opportunity to build a program, and I'm not trying to break their bank, but I'm also trying to prove my value and give them great services so they understand the importance of the risk management and safety portion of building apartments in the valley.
So how much risk because you're kind of like the consultant, for lack of a better word, how much risk do you expose yourself to if the second your guys leave the job site, they're doing the old Happy Gilmore or whatever it is, shooting the nail gun, like, you know what I mean? Like, is that if it's like firemen, I can just imagine like, oh, safety officer's gone. Next thing you know, it's like, don't need this eye pro, whatever.
That's
like,
probably been the easiest thing is these construction guys, whether they're Hispanic, Caucasian, it doesn't matter their nationality. They're literally, it's like working at the fire station. They're always fucking around, playing grab ass, doing the wrong thing. So how do you do it? If you're a company officer or you're a leader of a firehouse, you have to build relationships with them. You have to treat them with respect, and you have to figure out what's going to get to those individual people to make good choices for themselves. And we have a good success at doing that, man. But
and ultimately, unless you hit them where it counts, like, I always see like Verizon or some cable company, like their truck is parked in the middle of nowhere, but they got that orange cone in front of it, so all I can figure, it's like, they must not be allowed to get out of that truck and leave it without those cones there, or else they get fined or lose pay or something.
Yeah.
Because I know some of those places, they're pretty serious. Like, you have like more than 2 or 3 infractions, you're fired. Like, so yeah, I mean, I guess at a certain point you got to be. Thank God they don't do that in the firehouse, or we're already short staffed. We'd be
working for Brandon right now.
Yeah. We would last like 4 hours in the shift, and then we'd be fired.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah.
I just know if they put those rules in place, we'll be working for Brandon for the next couple of years.
Yeah, come on over. I can use you guys' help, man, to be honest.
That's like the guy that
my risk, I have a huge amount of risk, man. So unfortunately enough, it's like double-sided. My business has to be 100% legit with, I have to have professional liability insurance. I have to have workers' comp to show up on the job. I have to have general liability. So that's also something that I have to take into consideration. And for whatever reason, my insurance keeps going up and nothing's happening. It's just the insurance company is making more money. So that comes into play about what kind of agreement and proposal we're going to send off to my clients. But most importantly, man, if my team makes a critical decision and somebody has an incident that causes an injury, or obviously a catastrophic event like a stick fire on one of these apartment buildings that's getting built with wood, they're obviously going to hold my feet to the fire too. So we try to have fun, but at the end of the day, it's just like the fire service. We have fun, but we have a job to do, and we're going to do it professional. We're going to make sure we're following our core values and making good decisions for everybody involved.
So let me ask you this. So is there a way for you to, once you're on site, you finish what you're hired for your third-party services, your consultation, can you do an upsell and sell them a package or a program once you're finished so you continue to use afterwards, or you provide that? How does that work?
Yeah. So the goal for what we want to do is we want to have those relationships, and we want to provide such good services that they're not going to look for other consulting firms, or they're not thinking about hiring in-house risk managers to perform the work that we're doing. Okay. So as far as the upsell, there's no upsell. We identify things that are missing, and then we offer them. The biggest example is a very large developer that's worldwide. They moved in here, had some interviews with them, got the opportunity to work. They were missing the fire protection portion of the job. And I'm like, well, my team could do that for you. So they're like, we'll put some numbers together, throw it out. So I think, this year we probably delivered and installed about 750 fire extinguishers on the projects. And then what we do with that is we do the NFPA 10 inspections monthly, make sure that they're good, charged, all the basic stuff that you guys know. But the basic person walking around the construction site has no clue. So it saves work for those superintendents on the job. And my guys should already be doing that anyways, making sure the fire extinguishers are charged and stuff. So it kind of just made sense to kind of jump down that rabbit hole.
So so after a year or two, when those fire extinguishers expire, did they come hire you back to do it again, or?
Yep. So I have another contract with a company's called Palo Verde First Aid and Fire Rescue. It's where I get my stuff from. They'll do all the testing. They'll make sure everything's good to go. And if they need to be recharged, we just have them pick them up, and that's how that gets taken care of. So it's really kind of minimal hands-on for us besides the installation and then the monthly maintenance of it.
So give me an idea of, like, I know obviously fire extinguishers and FPA are some of them. I think for you to do this, do you have OSHA certifications and a couple other ones?
Yeah. So my team, they have OSHA 30s, they're authorized trainers, and then they have their construction health and safety technician certification through the board of safety professionals. Just like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was no credentials. It was more like the old timers who were kind of coming up in the game of the risk management and safety. That's who people used. And they didn't have any credentials behind their name. They just had the experience and the boots on the ground. And they knew how to interpret the OSHA regulations in order to make the job kind of move as planned. And that's changing, just like the fire service is changing. You can't be a captain anymore unless you have a degree and all that stuff.
Speak for yourself.
Brandon, you mentioned too, so you said that you're currently with the company that let you go, right? That's
yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious. I mean, I know that you mentioned Apex. I know that you're in Arete as well. What do you think changed, or what do you credit to the biggest change to going from that moment to where you're at now? Are you big on self-development? What kind of led that charge?
Yeah. So, dude, when I hurt myself and I had my ACL torn and I was sitting there, I was like, dude, I have to figure out something else besides always depending on like my health and being a fireman to make that happen. So my personal development was always my physical development. You see my Jocko stuff. I was always real big on mental conditioning and physical conditioning. And I had all these tools and I read all these books and listen to Andy's podcasts, and I was doing all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I need to actually do this and do it for like personal development and business. And I need to grow something so I don't have to be a fireman until I'm 100 years old. So when I hurt my knee, it was at that point I was like, dude, I'm gonna try to like grow a business, and I'm gonna see how it goes, and I'm gonna try to make some money. And my wife, obviously, she supports me, but she was like, just another one of Brandon's ideas. You know what I mean? So,
Brandon, do you have shiny object syndrome?
Always, man. I have.
You're right in.
Yeah, dude, I'm a squirrel, man. I'm always running around looking at stuff and trying to make stuff happen and trying to look for some deals to do. But on a daily basis, Tyler, to answer your question, man, the personal development is like the key thing to me, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. It's something that's like important to me. And I've seen in myself and other people like the products of actually investing in yourself and becoming the best version of yourself. So it's something that I plan on doing for the rest of my life, man. I enjoy doing it. I want to be around people like you guys who are doing big things, who are great people, who are trying to shout out other people winning instead of the normal population who's really, if they see you winning, they're trying to drag you down, and they'll talk shit about you, and they're not in your corner.
Or you clearly took advantage of somebody to get where you're at, right? God, it's a scam.
Sure. Yes, for sure.
It's funny. So the three pillars you just mentioned, mental, physical, and spiritual. So there's 5 things I look at every relationship as especially with your significant other, is your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and sexual. And the strength of those things will determine the bond that you have with your significant other. So the same thing translates into your relationships with your coworkers or the people you're doing business with, not the sexual so much or the physical, but like hopefully, because let's keep it 100 here. Like, you just want to have like a strong bond. And if one of them is weak and you can identify that weakness in that structure, then you can work on building that back up and create a better bond to move forward and have a stronger basis for that relationship in the future. So how are you? So relationships, I always say relationships and networking are the 2 biggest things to move forward. How would you identify good ways to have relationships with the people that you're working for? For me, like, I try to touch base with most of the people I do business with at least once a month. And sometimes I feel like that's not enough. Some guys I talk to on an everyday basis, just texting them like stupid memes. But, other guys, they don't want to have that kind of relationship. They want to have like an in-depth conversation once a month. And that's how they network. Like, what are you doing to maintain and build these relationships?
Yeah. So those relationships, obviously, man, the trickle down effect is what I call it. The superintendents and the assistant superintendents and the general superintendents, those are guys that we see on a weekly basis. So it's easy to develop good relationships with those guys. You're always around them. You're spending time with them. You're walking jobs with them. You're sitting in their trailer doing stuff. But what I try and do on the guys who aren't in the field on a daily basis and who are actually signing up my proposals and giving me the opportunity to work for them is that I just try to provide an overwhelming amount of value, whether it's for free, if it's up front, if I'm going to do some work for them for 4 or 5 or 6 months and get nothing in return. It's not because I'm trying to close them as a client. It's because I want them to know that that's the type of person I am. And that's what my team's willing to do to make sure that their guys are taken care of. So I'm always trying to give out that value without getting anything in return. And, if I get the opportunity to actually get an agreement going and start working for them, that's even better. But if not, at the end of the day, at least I can show them what type of person I am, and I can show them what kind of value I can provide.
Do you guys do anything for team building, and do you do anything with the superintendents and the guys below them outside of the trailer trash talking?
Yes. So about 2 years ago, man, and you guys were all in the fire service, our leadership style and how we handle situations is much different than the normal population, even the construction guys. So these guys gave me the opportunity to provide some leadership training for them. And what their goal was, this specific client that asked me to do it, was they wanted to try to build their lower guys, their task level guys, their assistants, and grow them and groom them into superintendents and into foremans where they could actually start doing more work, and they're going to be able to expand their business as well. But from the internal standpoint of they're going to train these guys to do the right thing.
So my brother, he's not a developer. He works for E.E. Reed Construction out in the DC area, and they're doing the data center builds for the Amazon companies. So what they do is, like, on their days off, to build relationships within their guys and the guys outside. They do a lot of golfing and a lot of shooting. Now, they're terrible fucking shots and they're good drinkers, but that's what they do. And I see a lot of that in the fire department too. It kind of translates to businesses. You want to have a relationship with the guys outside the fire department, you have to have other things to do, whether it be fishing tournaments or golfing or shooting or whatever else. I see that mentality is changing a little bit as we get older. I don't see it as much. I guess it depends on the shifts and the department and the firehouse that you're at. But I feel like in a business sense, which you do, like, this is a necessity. Like, this needs to be hammered home, is that, like, if you don't have these relationships and they think you're a scumbag and you have a bad reputation, like, they're not going to work with you. You're not going to get repeat customers, and that word's going to get out. They don't want to work with you because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like,
Yeah. So just to give you, like, the next week of my day, I'm golfing next Wednesday. I'm doing a tournament with one of my clients. I'm going to go play. I'm going to go hack the ball around a little bit. This weekend, I'm going to go to an Elk Society dinner with another one of my clients. They got a table. They gave me the opportunity to go with them. And then this evening, I'm going to go to an event and just spend some time with some people. So I'm always trying to do things outside of just being on these projects with them, whether it's even just stopping by the office to say what's up to them and talk to them and see how their day's going. Or, like you guys talk about, text them some funny memes or give them a call to see what's going on, and just not talk business, just talk about life and see how everything's going, and just, try to be authentic and try to show them that I actually care about them instead of just trying to earn money from them.
It's funny. I get friend requests from guys in the group, and they think I'm like this, like, real estate guru, and they friend request me, and it's like memes, shit talking, dad jokes. I'm like, if you're friends with me to learn something, like, this is not the Facebook page for you to be friends with.
Yeah.
I was just going to say your dad jokes are really good. My son loves them.
So that's one of the things that I look for is, like, is this person personable? Like, do they have a personality, or is it just dry? And if it's just dry, can I build a relationship off of dry? Like, I got one lawyer I work with on a regular basis, and, like, he's got no sense of humor. He's very monotone, but we bonded over real estate because he asked me about, like, you have to find ways to bond with these people. It's kind of where I'm getting down to in a roundabout way, is that it takes effort to bond with people. It takes effort to network with people, and you have to find ways that you have things in common. And I think a lot of people nowadays, they look for reasons to be distant and apart. They look for differences, not commonalities. So and all of us have little side businesses that we do, or obviously yours is a much bigger business. When you talk about scalability, what's your goal for the next, 1, 5, 10 years? Like, what are you going to do to build?
Yeah. So when I left the fire department, man, I was making maybe around, and it was just me and I had a part-time guy, around $20,000 a month. I just ran quarter one's numbers this year, and I'm almost 200% increased in volume just from there. My goal is to make this into a 7-figure business, and in the next 5 years, I'm going to try to sell it to a big company, and I'm going to try to do something else, man. If that doesn't work out, I'll obviously have no issues doing this, but I think I'm real big on things are meant for seasons. You know what I mean? I don't think that this is meant for me to do for the rest of my life, but for the next 5 years, I'm going to run it as hard as I can. I'm going to build something as special as I can, and I'm going to see how it goes and see if I can turn it over into somebody's hands who's going to kind of grow with it as well and provide the same stuff that I'm doing now.
There's a Olympian that I used to know, and she told me one day there's people in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And that kind of stuck with me for a long time. Is like there's a reason they're there for right now, whether it be like you have to help them change their tire and then you never see them again, or a season like you're in their life for a certain period of time to help them through a certain issue they might be having, and or a lifetime, like you could create a bond. And
I was looking at the Jocko stuff too, and that's the thing though. It's like you said, so you're into this business right now. And I think you've already proved yourself. I can run a business, and that's what it comes down to. Is I've learned all these principles. I've focused on these core values. I understand how my chain of command, my span of control, which is easy for a lot of us because we're in a paramilitary organization. Yeah. And then a couple of years down the road, like you said, you have a 5-year exit. After that 5-year exit, it's like, well, now I know how to run a business. What else can I do to scratch a different itch? And I know I asked you earlier about the jiu-jitsu studio, right? And that could just be a passion project. It's just interesting to me. I think a lot of us get into this, and we talked about it on the last podcast we just did, is we're looking for freedom and we're looking for control over our lives. And what you said is obviously ringing true to me right now. I'm off on a knee injury. I've been off for a long time, and the longer I'm off, the more I think about, well, if I can never go back, what does my life look like? And if I'm not taking this opportunity right now to build and grow, especially on myself, it's wasted time. And for that, for your essay first, this may be something, like you said, that you're into, and it sounds like you have a very clear vision of what you want to do and how that's going to look. But at the same time, you realize at the end of this, where am I going to go next? And like Mike and Aaron and I were just talking about, for us, we do a lot of residential real estate. That's our huge focus. But we have proven to ourselves, hey, we are efficient operators and we can make this work. What does the next 5 to 10 years look like for us? And do you have any idea of what that next business is going to be? Or are you just so focused right now, I'm going to make this the best that I can? And at that point, you may continue to grow, or hey, I do know I want to do X.
Yeah. So I got 2 deals right now that I'm working that we're pretty close to making happen. One is, when we talk about risk management, I want to provide site security cameras to all of these projects in the Valley. And what that is, it reduces theft. If somebody's trying to break in at night, the infrared cameras can catch these guys. And I feel like it's one of those markets where I already have these relationships cultivated, where I'm going to be able to tell them, like, this is the reason why I want you guys to have better security. I want you guys to streamline your process, have one contract with one person instead of having to spread it out and do multiple things. So at 2:00 today, I have a meeting with a guy from California, hopefully going to try to get some numbers figured out and close that deal where I could provide site security cameras. And then the next thing is just like you guys, man. Me and one of my business partners, we're looking at some apartments in Mesa, Arizona right now to purchase. And we're going to try to, do a little renovation on them. And then we're going to try to rent them out. So nice. My goal right now is just to kind of stack as much capital as I can. So once that opportunity presents itself, I'm going to have the funds to be able to dive into it. And I'm not going to be stressed out about where am I going to get X, Y, and Z from to make this deal happen. So,
and Brandon, you guys have mentioned Arte and Apex. So I know we've talked about it in previous podcasts, but those are mastermind groups, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I was in Arte. I was in there for about 9 months, man, and I got what I wanted out of it. I miss the Andy and I miss the Ed Milet. Ed Milet's one of my favorite people in the world to listen to. I'm always listening to him on a daily basis, whether it's on YouTube or if I'm listening to his podcast. I just truly believe like he resonates with me. But I'm all about the seasons, man. So I jumped into Apex. It's a little bit different style mastermind, but it was kind of what I needed at that time to try to see if I was going to be able to cultivate some clients with social media posts on LinkedIn, how to kind of go through that, help me build a little CRM. So again, I don't know where. I think the next mastermind I'm going to try is Lions Not Sheep and see what's up with Sean Whalen and see what I get out of that. And I'm just going to keep moving on to stuff, man.
I'm in that one too. I'm an addict.
Yeah, he's an addict. So I don't learn all of them. I jump around and I try to figure out what I can get lessons, and I try to implement those lessons as quickly and effectively as I can.
Outside the masterminds, do you have any like coaching that you've sought out, or anybody who's kind of been a big brother to you to get you into the business?
Man, I got one guy, his name's Scott. He has a pretty large framing company here. I met him when I was first starting this deal. He's like 40 years old. He's super successful, worked for huge real estate development firms in Florida back in the day. And he's just kind of one of those people that I look up to. He's a mentor to me. We go out to lunch. We talk about business. We talk about future plans. And hopefully one day I'll get the opportunity to do some deals with him. But that's my number one guy out in the streets of the Valley that I'm reaching out to for advice, coaching, mentorship, or if I have any problems, I'll reach out to him to have him help me solve them or give me some different ideas.
I feel like having that relationship is key for growth. And it's one of those things, like that's one of the reasons that we kind of had the grassroots movement of starting this Facebook group and this podcast is like just helping other people and like being a sounding board for them, and then getting other guys on here like you. And we just had Dylan on episode 9 as sounding boards to kind of help other people move forward and calm their fears and kind of give them a direction. Because a lot of times it's just like Mike's favorite quote is ready, fire, aim. So a lot of times it's like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes you hit the target, sometimes you won't. But if you can have somebody direct you on how to, adjust your scopes correctly, now you might be able to hit the target a little bit better, or actually have more of an impact on it.
For sure.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, you have to just take that action, because you can sit here. Like I was texting a guy earlier. He's like, I'm stuck in the analysis paralysis phase. I'm like, cool. At least you're aware of that. But like, you're never going to get from A to B without taking that first step. And you're never going to have all of the information you want. But if you have enough that you can make an educated decision, right? Like, it's no different than entering a house fire. Like, you don't know the layout of that house, but if you look at the building, you have enough information to make somewhat of an educated entry, tactic, discussion, whatever. So, like you have all these resources, and I think we've talked about it at, a fair amount, is networking, relationships. This whole group is for that reason, so that, hey man, you may not have all of the data points you want, but you have enough to make a pretty good decision. And you got all these other people, whether it be in Arate or Apex or first responder or whatever, to be like, hey, can you take a look at this? Cool. Yeah, it looks good to me. All right. Or, hey, you need to look out for this, and take that step. But like, a lot of people say, oh, it must be nice. And nothing pisses me off more than whenever people say that. Because like, yeah, it is nice, but you're looking at the outcome and not the process to get there. So, I think a lot of people lose focus of like, hey, it takes a lot of, there's days like it's real easy to look back, be like, oh, SA first, 7 figures have gone up 200%, blah, blah, blah. But I bet whenever you left all your shit in the firehouse for the last day and walked out, that car ride home, you were like, I got this. Do it. I got it. All right. Like nobody wants to live those moments, right?
Yeah. So I still have that, man. Like yesterday I was thinking, I was like, dude, is this all going to come fucking crashing and burning down? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's human nature to have those thoughts. You know what I mean? But as long as you stay intentional, you stay focused, and you have a purpose that's behind that, you should be okay. I can't promise anything. If the building industry collapses, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll figure something out. But everybody, not one person supported me leaving the fire department. Not one fucking person. And I finally sat down and talked to my wife, and I said, hey, this is my goal, and it's not going to happen with me being on the fire department full time and me trying to run a business full time. And I have no time left to have any relationship with you or my 3 boys. And she finally kind of understood it. And I was talking to her for, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months, man. And be like, I think it's time for me to go. I think it's time for me to leave. And the fire department really was for me at the end, man. You guys would laugh. I set up some FMLA and I wasn't getting paychecks anymore. I would like work one day, so it would pay for my insurance for my family. And then my paychecks were just all triple zeros because I had, and that's not fair to the city of Phoenix. You know what I mean? They don't want an employee who's abusing them like that. So it really, for me, you know, I try to perform off of integrity. Dude, I had to leave. It wasn't the right thing for me to do to milk that and to try to build my business. And obviously, once I left, man, I had more time, more availability. I was getting more sleep, which was the number one thing that I can say changed my life immediately, which obviously gave me more energy and more focus to get things done. You know what I mean?
So one of the things that you highlighted was I don't know if I missed it or not when I was taking a little hiatus there for a minute. So you said you going to the Elks Lodge. Is that what I heard for an event?
Their foundation has a banquet this weekend. That's where they're going to auction off the Governor Elk tag. It'll go for like $250. Okay. And you go network, a lot of builders there, a lot of developers there, a lot of great people there just having a good time.
So there's different groups that like, and I know there's always some rumors behind these groups, but like the Masons, the Elks, the Moose, the Knights of Columbus, like those are all groups where like they're big networking groups. People have all these conspiracy theories about them on the back end, but honestly, like it just opens up more doors for people. The event that you're doing this weekend, how are you going to present? So a lot of people are introverts, right? So how do you think somebody should go about introducing themselves and networking and chatting with somebody? Just walk up to them and be like, you know, hey, I'm Brandon Hall and nice to meet you. This is what I do for a living. Here's my card.
Yeah. So that's interesting you say that, man, because I am an introvert when I need to be. And then when it's time to, you know, it's showtime, you're there and you're not going to sit in a corner, right? So you have to, you know, make yourself a little uncomfortable and you have to just small talk, chop it up with guys and meet as many people as you can and just try to have a good time. As long as you're there having a good time, talk about yourself a little bit, you're good. But there's no need when you're trying to network. If you're not talking to anybody, you're not going to accomplish anything. So
what's the next step for you? Like what do you see the next step being after your growth into the East Coast and the Minnesota? Like what's the next step for you? Hire more people, traveling?
Yeah. So right now we're looking to hire another member of the team, which is obviously going to give us the availability and the flexibility to continue to capture more clients. So what my goal is for the rest of 2022 is capture a client a month. So I'm trying to close the deal right now for April. It's the beginning of April, so it'll be nice once that happens, but close a deal every single month for the rest of the year will put me in a good position to really try to keep creeping up on that, you know, 2.1, 2.2 number that I'm looking for. My goal set this year was 1.2. And I'm on track so far to achieve that goal. So, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not an analytic guy, but I try to keep track of where I'm at to make sure that my growth is on pace of where my effort is.
So your ABC is always be closing, right?
Always be closing, dude. And I never used to think that you had to sell. And then when I left the fire department, I was like, oh, dude, I got to sell because I got to pay for this $2,000 a month insurance. I got all these bills. It was crazy.
Brandon, are you hiring anybody that's still on the job? Is that like, or do you have guys that are not in the fire department working for you?
Yeah. So I don't have anybody at the moment that's working on the fire department that's working for me, but I have one guy who's actually taking classes right now and he's got 2 more years on the fire department. He's out right at 20 and he wants to come and work for me. And I'm like, dude, absolutely have a job. Good dude, captain, mature, treats people with respect. He fits my core values where we can train him how to do everything and he'll be a good fit.
Yeah. That's why there's a guy that works in the department I'm in and he runs a very successful plumbing business. And like his guys that work for him are all firemen. So they're like helpers. So they don't need the benefits. They don't need the retirement. So he gets guys that he knows are pretty squared away. So he's got a reliable workforce. They like it. You know, it's just one of those, like it fits naturally. So I just didn't know if you had guys that were on the job and they did this for you on their days off, or if they were just completely unaffiliated.
Yeah, so totally unaffiliated. When I was on the fire department, I was always like trying to like plant some seeds to see if guys would bite on it. But dude, working overtime on the fire department is so comfortable for people. It's what they know. They're not stepping outside the box. They're not doing anything more challenging. So
it's also trading time for money.
I got a lot of no's, man. I tried too, because I was trying to help guys out.
Do you still have much interaction with many guys still on the job? You said you left just over a year ago or almost a year ago at this point. Like, do you notice that, you're not really tied into that same circle anymore, or a lot of your friends still on the fire department, or are they mostly, contractors that are hunting elks or whatever?
Yeah. So I got a few good friends on the fire department, man. But the craziest thing happened as I was building my business, man. It seemed like my circle was getting smaller and smaller, man. And it's just making different decisions. You can't go out Friday, Saturday night, go to the bar if you want to try to grow a business and be successful, man. And, I'm 36 now, but the firemen like to go out. They like to get some chicks. I have 3 boys. I'm married. I can't go out and do that stuff. So those friends kind of dropped off, probably about 8-9 years ago. But right now I work out with some guys at the gym that are still on the fire department. And then I have a few guys that are training at the gym that are firemen as well. They roll around, do jiu-jitsu. So I still stay in touch. Some of the best memes I get are from my buddy Jared on the fire department. So I always talk to him. I try to talk to him a few times a week.
I'll be your Huckleberry, bro. I'll be your meme dealer.
I like it.
Yeah.
So when you said that you like the guys fell off, so I called a buddy of mine on the way into Ocean City yesterday when I was driving, and he was like, "Yeah, man, my circle of friends are my 3-foot and my 5-foot circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because those are the ones you can depend on. Who's going to answer the phone, give you some information, lend an ear for you to bend, a shoulder for you to cry on, whatever else." And a lot of times people think that their work friends are their true friends, but they're only there in your life because they are there with you at the firehouse. So they're not necessarily, not real friends, but they're there for a reason or a season or a lifetime, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
I feel like when you step out of your fire department job and into a different business, your reason, season, and a lifetime changes. Like your core 3-foot and 5-foot of friends changes. And you have to really focus on cultivating those relationships. And if they don't cultivate and they don't grow, then you got to learn how to cut them off because they might be toxic, or they might just not be, they might be stagnant and not something for your future. And I think a lot of people, they depend on the relationships they have in the past, and they think it's going to help them move forward in the future. And it's not going to, because they're either stagnant or they're not moving forward or they're holding you back. And that's one of the things I want to highlight in this conversation is that for any business you want to do, like you have to have motivation and you have to put in effort. And if you don't have that motivation and you don't put in that effort, then you're never going to move forward. And if you're comfortable where you are, and I said this in the podcast I did last week, if you're comfortable where you are, it doesn't mean that you're not
successful.
Yeah. It just means you're successful in that realm. But if somebody else wants to grow past you, like there's reasons that people grow apart.
Yeah.
Because you have to have that relationship and understanding, and you have to have the communication to understand that for you guys to grow together, you have to be on the same page. So the guys that are around you, like, do you have guys like cheering you on and motivating you? Obviously your wife and kids do, but do you have guys in your atmosphere that are like, hell yeah, Brandon, keep doing this, keep doing that. Like I would change this if I were you, or like kind of giving you direction other than the guy who's the framer?
Yeah. So I have, one of my good friends, my business partner, he's a little bit younger than me, but he's probably my number one support system that I go to when I'm trying to chop it up how you're talking. We hunt, we fish, we camp, we do things together. We're flying out to Texas for $1 million mastermind together. But he really kind of is my support system when it comes to what you're talking about. And to circle back a little bit, man, my old friends, they're still my friends. I still love them. They're still good dudes. But if I'm trying to get to point A from point B, and I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to expand, not just financially, but in all aspects of my life, I need to hang around guys like you who are performing better than me in levels of life, who are doing different things, who's really going to challenge my relationship instead of just being like, oh, let's go watch the fights and let's go drink at the bar. You don't have to
sweet talk me, bro. We're cool.
I always say, like, I could fit the amount of friends I have on the head of a needle, because it's like, there's not very many people that, like, I'm friendly and I'll talk to anybody. But like the amount of people that I'm like, hey, who I'm going to call for X, Y, and Z, like it's a close circle. But I've never been one of those people who feels like I need a million friends, like,
Yeah.
oh, and I get invited to the cookout. I don't really give a shit, dude. Like,
Hey,
but you know what I mean?
But real talk, man, it's being on the fire department when I was trying to build my business. It was a lonely road, dude. All my guys, they would be like chopping it up, dude. And I'm in my bunk on the computer working. And these guys are all like stratoed out, chilling, hanging out, having a good time. You know what I mean? So there was definitely some disconnect. And that was a challenge for me when I first decided to go all in instead of just, running a little business, trying to grow it. Was just separating myself and utilizing my time and managing my time wisely. Because at the fire station, that's when I tried to get all my computer work done.
Dude, people are so like, they just are not intentional about their time usage. Like, it binds us all equally. And do you ever feel like, sometimes I still feel like I'm socially awkward, but like, I feel like there's times where it's like, I can't even have I could never have a conversation like some of the things we've talked about with some of the guys I work with, and not all, but some, but it's just like, they're sitting there. Some people are more worried about what the hell this TV show and Netflix episode this is. And I'm like, bro, what is the problem? Like, why can't you see this? But it's fun. Like, and I don't fault anybody. Like, some people are just happier than a pig in shit with X, Y, and Z. And that is totally cool. And I don't think that makes it bad or wrong. But sometimes I just feel like, the guy from The Big Short, the guy that sits in his office with the drums and like the headset on all the time.
But the world needs ditch diggers. Like some people,
man.
They see their ditch digging as successful, and that works for them.
And
it just wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
Hey, so
go ahead.
My kids play football at a church just up the street from my house, man. And it's Fireman Central, dude. And these guys are all wearing their fireman hats and they wear their blue shorts for football practices or whatever. And my wife was talking to one of the wives and she's like, I can't believe your husband left the fire department. Like, that's all my dad does. That's all my husband wants to do. Like, they absolutely love it. And my wife was just like, he liked it. It was fine, but he just grew past it. I have nothing negative to say about the Phoenix Fire Department. It's one of the best fire departments in the country. We had fun, good times, got to fight some cool fire. But looking back now, nobody's asking me how many fires I fought. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about that whatsoever. So, it just depends on, like you said, somebody needs to do the job.
I had 2 turning points in my career, and I love the fire department. But I've had injuries as well. But the fire department for me is one of the hinging points was a couple of years ago where a battalion chief had cancer, and he came to me. He's like, "Hey man, I want to get back in shape. I want to pass the physical test and get back to full duty." I said, "All right, cool. I can help you out. Like, what's the deal?" He's like, "They're going to try to retire me on disability, and that way my wife wouldn't get my pension if I die from cancer." So his goal was to get back to full duty, retire, and then if something happens to him, his wife got his pension. And he ended up dying 6 months later after going back to full duty. And people, I guess it's like 6 or 7 years later now is like, who are you talking about? I never heard of him. And I'm like, damn, like this guy broke his back, and he's a great chief. He's a great officer. He's very knowledgeable. I really enjoy spending time with him. But like the fact there was like, who was that? I don't remember him at all. I'm like, damn, man, that's a sticking point in my mind.
Yeah. You're a finite player in an infinite game.
Yeah, that's like one of my captains has always said. He's like, put your finger in a glass of water. It's like, that's you in the fire department. It's like, pull it out. That's you after you retire. There's nobody knows. And that's the thing. It's like, we all love this job. It's super fun. And I mean, I don't know many guys even that have left could ever really say anything negative about it. But to Aaron's point, there's so much more after that and even off duty. And we neglect that a lot because, like you said, if I wear an Investor Fuel t-shirt to my kid's soccer game, nobody's coming up to me and asking me about what that is. If I have a firefighter shirt on, it is like instant. It's a sexy job, right?
That Big Johnson Fire Department sweatshirt.
Fireslayer.com. But that's the thing.
I fight what you fear.
Yeah. Medic Mike. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Medic Mike.
And that's the same thing. It's like nobody wants to talk about personal development, and it is kind of a weird thing, especially around guys on the job, because personal development, I mean, in my own personal opinion, just recently has it even become kind of in vogue or cool to talk about with guys that I run with. And now I feel like, hey, even the same thing. I'm at the station, I'm on my computer. They're always like, Thrush, what are you always doing on your computer? I'm trying to build something for my family right now. And that's my goal. I like watching TV too, but if I have some free time and I can do this, this better serves me and my family.
For sure. For sure. And it's just culture, man. It honestly is just a culture. The Phoenix Fire Department, dude, just to give you guys an example, when I left the fire department, I probably got 50 phone calls and emails and text messages like, what are you doing? And then now that I left, it's been about a year, about 10 guys who are young on the fire department left after me to do their own thing, to explore different avenues. So I was really that person who was like, I'm going to do it. And everybody else was like, dude, I don't love it like I thought I would either. I'm going to take off and do something else. You know what I mean?
We hit some really good points in this whole interview, and went down some we got some depth to it too. Like we went down some bromance shit, and I like that. Like it's a conversation a lot of guys don't have. So, Brandon, let me ask you a question as we wrap this thing up, because we're into an hour now. If you can go back and give your younger self some advice, what advice would that be?
Dude, if I was going to give my younger self advice, man, it would be to make those hard choices that don't seem sexy and fun at the time when I was 20 years old, because I could be light years ahead of where I'm at now by just making some sacrifice and investing in yourself and not running with the normal crowd, but picking out that few guys who actually are trying to develop themselves and to do bigger things, you know. I was raised, you know, pretty poor, under middle class, single mom, lived in an apartment complex in the central Phoenix. And, you know, I was always a dreamer, but I didn't know how to make that stuff happen. And just by doing some personal development, working hard and building relationships with people, you know, I've gotten the opportunity, and I got lucky enough to have, you know, just a little bit of success.
You don't know what you don't know. And so you started finding people who knew. It's when you're like, more doors opened up for you and more light got shined down on top of it. Mike and Tyler, do you guys have anything to wrap up with Brandon before we end this?
Just thank you. I mean, there's a lot of different things I could sit here and talk about. And I think I've said this every episode. I could talk for another hour or two about this stuff. You know, that's the one good thing about 24-hour shifts, right? You can shoot the shit with stuff about stuff like this for a while. But now, man, just really appreciate your time. Like, this is definitely kind of gone a different road than a lot of our other episodes we've had that have been real estate heavy. So it's just really cool to see a lot of different guys that have a different path, but are from you can tell, cut from the same cloth, just out there crushing it and whatever it is that they're doing and just trying to live to their potential, man. Yeah. So it's just really appreciate it and look forward to chatting in the future.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on, and thank you, Tyler, for reaching out, man. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate it. It's awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Brandon, you're a rock star, bro.
See ya. Hey, good luck with your mouth, man.
Thanks, I need it. Talk to y'all. See ya.
Thanks again for spending some time with us today. If you found value in anything you heard, please share with someone who may benefit. We look forward to connecting between shows in our Facebook group, First Responder Financial Freedom. Till next time.